Hi everyone, my name's Graham Lappin. I'm the writer and composer of the new original British musical, The Rise. I thought it might be interesting and fun in these strangest of times to get in contact with the cast of the musical that we had the privilege of working with us on presenting this first full outing of this new show back in January of this year, 2020, at the Royal Northern College of Music here in Manchester. I guess I was interested to sort of take a walk down memory lane back to Milbourne Hill and hear from them, with the benefit of a bit of time passing, what their reflections were on the show and how they would describe it to the audience that we're hoping that it will find. So enjoy.
Rise follows the story of the Roach family as they try to reconnect and communicate after the loss of their mother.
I think it's about wanting to be loved, about wanting to be looked after and cared for, and about having people to turn to.
The Rise is about family. The family you're born with and the family you choose, and how we're all in this together.
The Rise is a piece all about change, about whether change is inevitable, whether it's something that we should accept and cater for, or whether we resist it with every fibre of our being. And I suppose whether or not change constitutes progress.
It is about tradition, it is about family. It's about all the lovely things that people look back on and think, oh, those were the days, even though we didn't live then. And yet the piece is not nostalgic.
It's about a little girl's vision and how that transforms the people around her. Ultimately, I think it's about how hope triumphs overall. Violet's character is so bright and happy, and she always tries to bring the best of what life is into the family's life. All she wants to do is bake, but she has the advantage of being able to read and write from going to school, which her family don't. She makes them realise that there is more to life than grieving and living in the past, that they need to step up and be in the future.
My character Alfred, who is the father of the two girls, he sings about progress with great irony, about whether or not it actually means anything, and whether or not in the pursuit of progress we lose an awful lot of other things, tradition and security. He's somebody who wants very much to maintain the status quo, to be able to continue the way he always has. It's a touchstone for him. At a time when everything is difficult, his daughters are changing, the world is changing around him. Baking and the way baking has always been is what helps him.
I play Winifred, who is the older sister of Violet, the protagonist. Winifred is quite a grumpy girl, glum, shall we call her? That's what she calls herself. Who is very trapped within her existence and probably doesn't have the same level of ability to look outside of her circumstance that her little sister Violet does. Her journey in the story really sees her going from a trapped young woman who's lost her mum to being somebody who learns that actually she's potentially just where she needs to be. And yeah, she's a lovely character to play because she's very similar to me.
So I play Samuel Chadwick, who I think in many ways is sort of the villain of the piece, really, although I would like to think that he's not really a villain character. And he is someone who has not necessarily had the best start and the best life, and has learnt a lot of very bad behaviours as a sort of survival technique, coping mechanisms, I suppose, to help him get through his life. You know, he's a sort of angry fighter. He's sort of, I think, violence is, or the threat of violence at least, is kind of his first throw of the dice, really. And so he's a bit lost and a bit wayward, but beneath that is someone who is actually, I think, quite sad and quite lonely and just looking for a safe place like anyone else. And I suppose, you know, in the musical, his desire is to find that and to find somewhere safe and to find someone who will look after him and not hurt him like I think he's been hurt in the past.
My character is Lillian Browning. She is a tough cookie. Some would call her a battle axe. I wouldn't. I would say that she's, like all of us, she is the way she is because of the experiences she's had in her life. She's had a difficult time and it's made her a difficult woman. She's had a tough set of things happen to her and that's made her become tough. But she's also selfish and not very fair to her beautiful, lovely son, Herbert.
I played, in this rehearsed reading, a character who's called the Old Lady. She does actually have a name, but you just don't need to know that right now. And it turned out to be more interesting than I'd even anticipated. Smoke and mirrors comes to mind. I'm never quite sure what that means, but mirrors certainly, because one's looking back and yet looking at the present. And she doesn't say very much until the end, when there are various things that come to light. So this play does have a big surprise at the end, which also adds to its it shows the skill of the writer actually, and it makes it very interesting, I'm sure, for an audience to watch.
One of the songs that I like particularly comes towards the end of the piece, and it's called On the Breeze. There's been an awful lot going on. The characters all stop because they can smell something on the breeze. And they stop and just sing and listen and smell, and it's a beautiful, beautiful moment. It's a Bisto moment, but it's very, very beautiful. And I think it is the moment at which all of the characters come together as one and recognise what's happening and that change is taking place. And that's particularly for Alfred, who realises that he can't win, he has to change, and that it's for the best.
My favourite song is The Bottom Drawer, which is Lillian's song, because it reveals so much about her character. Up until that point in the piece, her song's in Act 2 now, up until that point you've seen not a very nice woman, and the song, it's a ballad, is beautiful in its simplicity and in its rigidity. She's trapped by her circumstances like many people are, and you really feel that in the song, but it also reveals why she's become the way she is, and hopefully the audience feel for her because of that.
But there's one song that right from the outset I liked the best, and it's Tadpoles. The words of it and the ensemble singing in that, I think it's just such a clever piece, and melodically it's very, very satisfying. So that's how I feel about the music. I liked all of the music actually, all of the songs, and all of the songs written for each character really fitted each character. But me, I like Tadpoles.
My favourite song in the musical is Clever. I think it's such a powerful and emotional song. And there is quite a lot of emotional songs in the play, but this one stands out to me the most, as it really says that you don't need to be standardly clever in terms of reading and writing to be able to do what you want to do and make the best of what you want to do and make clever choices.
My favourite song in the show would probably have to be These Hands. It's just, the stakes are so high in their lives, and it's two people just sort of letting loose against each other in that way that I think you can only really let loose if you really care about someone. Kind of, it's a weird paradox that actually the people we care about the most are probably the ones that we're the cruelest to, and I think that's true of them as well. And also it helps that it's just a beautiful song, absolute banger. So big up Graham Lappin. But yeah, it's just so fun to sing, hard to sing, but so fun to sing, so enjoyable, an absolute dream to act because it's so easy. I mean, the words sort of just fall out of you, just an absolute joy, really.
My favourite song, I don't know that I can pick. That's really hard. I think I really love the message in Clever. That was one that really stuck out to me in the show. I think just because we see Samuel kind of as this quite negative character in Winifred's life, especially in the first act, and we sort of see them battling against each other, two very strong-willed individuals who probably are a bit confused as to how they're supposed to proceed with their life. And then I think it's a real moment when we see Samuel sort of a bit more vulnerable and a bit more exposed, and I think for the first time we sort of see probably why him and Winifred have that connection, because ultimately they're both very vulnerable underneath this sort of hard exterior. But yeah, I mean, all of them, my favourite song to sing is probably On the Breeze, just because it's beautiful and it's a different vocal quality to how we hear Winifred at any other time in the show. And I suppose I should probably say one that doesn't involve Winifred storyline. Very self-indulgent of me. I think Violet's songs are just beautiful, and the way that Lucy sang them in the show was just stunning. I'm always going to have a soft spot for Tomorrow's Bread, because it kind of is that little refrain, the dun 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 dun. That is the Rise for me since I started on this project. That little refrain does kind of give me goosebumps. So. I think people will really enjoy this musical, as it is a reminder that family life isn't always perfect, it isn't always great, but when you learn to communicate and love each other, that's when you can really make things better for not only the family, but for people around you as well.
But what's important, what shows really the merit of a piece, is that it should appeal to a much wider audience, not just to people who are from or who live in the area where it's set. It's suitable for all ages. There's something in it for everybody. If you like a musical, you'll love it. If you are from that area, you'll love it. Even if you aren't, what's not to like?
I think people should go and see the show or listen to the show. It offers hope that there is progress and that there is change, and it can be for the better and it can be for good. And I think that's really what The Rise is trying to say.
It's beautiful. It's real, and I think a lot of musical theatre can sometimes be very, in a brilliant way, it can be a real escape and can be very kind of showy, and this feels very pure and very genuine, and the characters are really honest, and they're not perfect, and they've all got challenges that they have to navigate during the course of the show, and I think you fall in love with all of them. I don't think there's kind of anyone who you don't get to the end of the show and not think, oh my gosh, I'd love to know them. It's just clever. It's really clever. It's a really clever show about nuanced individuals and
it's a proper play. It's a proper story. I think people would enjoy it because it's great. It makes you think of your own connections to your own family.
I think people would enjoy the show because it kind of just has a bit of everything. It's got this wonderful, heartfelt story about family and community and real people. But at the same time, it's a beautiful score. So if for some bizarre reason you're not into the story, you can just listen to this incredible soundtrack at the same time. As well as tugging on the heartstrings, it also makes people laugh. It's funny and it's poignant and very powerful, very moving, and sort of just has a bit of everything, really. It ticks all the boxes, and I think everyone who has seen it or heard it so far has felt something, if not all of those things, and I think it's a lovely piece. But yeah, it's just beautiful, just gorgeous, very lucky to be involved. Thanks for having me, Graham.
It's full of heart. The music is stirring and emotive and stunning. The script is really well written, it's funny, and it's a beautiful world that Graham Lappin's created, and his writing draws you into that, and it's a gorgeous piece.